How calmness will lead you to success. Imagine this. You're facing the biggest crisis of your career. Everyone around you is panicking. Deadlines are crushing down. Your reputation is on the line. While others crumble under pressure, you remain composed, thinking clearly, making strategic decisions that not only solve the problem but elevate your position even higher. This isn't fiction. This is the power of stoic calmness. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how ancient wisdom can transform your modern success. 2,000 years ago, in the marble halls of Rome, emperors, senators, and philosophers discovered a secret that would echo through centuries. They found that success doesn't come from having the loudest voice in the room, the fastest reaction, or even the most resources. Success comes from something far more profound: the ability to remain calm when the world around you is burning. Marcus Aurelius, arguably the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his private journal that the mind that achieves calmness is like an unshakable mountain. While storms rage around it, the mountain stands firm, weathering every challenge with quiet strength. This wasn't just poetic philosophy. This was practical wisdom from a man who ruled an empire while facing plagues, wars, and political upheavals. But here's what most people miss about stoic calmness. It's not about becoming emotionally numb or passive. It's about developing such mental clarity that you can see opportunities where others see only obstacles. It's about training your mind to respond rather than react, to choose your battles wisely, and to maintain your inner equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. Think about the last time you made a decision while angry or stressed. How did that turn out? If you're honest, probably not as well as you'd hoped. Now imagine having the ability to pause, breathe, and access your full intellectual capacity in any situation, no matter how challenging. Seneca, one of Rome's most successful businessmen and advisors to Emperor Nero, understood this principle better than anyone. He faced exile, political intrigue, and constant threats to his life, yet he accumulated vast wealth and influence. His secret wasn't superior intelligence or connections. It was his ability to remain calm under pressure, which allowed him to see clearly when others were blinded by emotion. Here's the fascinating part. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics knew intuitively. When you're calm, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive decision-making, operates at peak efficiency. Your working memory improves, your pattern recognition sharpens, and your ability to connect seemingly unrelated concepts increases dramatically. In other words, calmness literally makes you smarter. Consider how this applies to negotiations. While your counterpart becomes frustrated, raises their voice, or makes emotional appeals, you remain composed. You listen more than you speak. You ask thoughtful questions. You identify their real needs beneath their stated positions. This isn't manipulation, it's clarity. And clarity in negotiations often translates directly to better outcomes. The same principle applies to leadership. Teams naturally gravitate toward calm leaders during crises. Why? Because calmness is contagious in the best possible way. When your team sees you handling pressure with grace, they internalize that same composure. They make better decisions, communicate more effectively, and solve problems more creatively. But developing this level of emotional regulation requires practice. The Stoics developed specific techniques, and I'll share the most powerful ones with you. The key is understanding that emotions are information, not commands. When anger arises, it's telling you something about your values or boundaries. When fear appears, it's highlighting potential risks that need assessment. When you learn to receive this information without being controlled by it, you gain a tremendous advantage. Every successful person eventually learns this lesson, but Stoics master from the beginning. You cannot control outcomes, but you can control your efforts, your choices, and your responses. This isn't just philosophical wisdom. It's the foundation of strategic thinking. Epictetus, who went from being a slave to one of the most respected teachers in Rome, taught that freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from understanding what is truly within your control. This insight transforms how you approach every challenge in your professional and personal life. Most people waste an enormous amount of mental energy worrying about things they cannot influence. Market fluctuations, competitor actions, other people's opinions, or economic conditions. This worry doesn't just drain your emotional resources. It clouds your judgment and prevents you from focusing on the areas where you can actually make a difference. When you embrace the Stoic principle of control, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes laser-focused on your sphere of influence. You stop complaining about obstacles and start engineering solutions. You stop hoping for luck and start creating opportunities. You stop reacting to setbacks and start learning from them. This shift in focus has profound practical implications. In business, it means you spend more time perfecting your product, understanding your customers, and building your team rather than obsessing over what competitors are doing. In career development, it means you focus on building skills, creating value, and nurturing relationships rather than worrying about office politics or external recognition. The calmness that comes from this clarity is not passive, it's purposeful. You move through your day with intention rather than anxiety. You make decisions based on data and values rather than fear and hope. This doesn't mean you ignore external factors. It means you assess them rationally and then focus your energy where you can actually influence outcomes. Consider the entrepreneur who launches a business during an economic downturn, while others freeze in uncertainty. The Stoic entrepreneur focuses on what they can control: their value proposition, their customer relationships, their operational efficiency. They cannot control the economy, but they can control how they respond to economic conditions. This often leads to breakthrough success because they're moving strategically, while others are paralyzed by circumstances. Here's where Stoic philosophy reveals its most counterintuitive wisdom. True success comes from simultaneously holding a long-term vision while being fully present in the current moment. This isn't contradiction. It's sophisticated thinking that most people never develop. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about viewing life from the perspective of eternity, while remaining fully engaged with daily responsibilities. This dual awareness creates a unique form of calmness that's both grounded and elevated. You care deeply about your work and goals, but you're not attached to them in a way that creates anxiety or desperate behavior. This perspective shift has immediate practical benefits. When you operate from this elevated viewpoint, short-term setbacks lose their emotional sting. A failed project becomes valuable data for your next attempt. A rejected proposal becomes insight into market needs. A difficult colleague becomes an opportunity to practice patience and communication skills. But this isn't about becoming detached or indifferent. It's about developing what psychologists call optimal distance from your goals and challenges. You care enough to give your best effort, but not so much that fear of failure paralyzes you or that small setbacks derail your progress. The most successful people I've studied share this quality. They have clear long-term visions that guide their decisions, but they don't sacrifice present moment awareness to anxiety about the future or regret about the past. They understand that success is built through a series of present moments, each requiring full attention and thoughtful action. This creates a compound effect that's difficult for competitors to match. While others are constantly switching between anxiety about the future and regret about the past, you're consistently present, consistently learning, consistently improving. Day after day, month after month, the steady presence creates exponential advantages. The practical application is straightforward but powerful. Begin each day with a clear intention based on your long-term vision. Then immerse yourself completely in the tasks at hand. When challenges arise, pause and ask yourself, how will this matter in 10 years? This question isn't meant to minimize current challenges, but to put them in proper perspective so you can address them with clarity rather than panic. Most people see obstacles as problems to avoid. Stoics see obstacles as opportunities to develop strength, wisdom, and character. This fundamental reframe turns every challenge into a stepping stone toward greater success. The famous Stoic phrase, "the impediment to action advances action, what stands in the way becomes a way," isn't just inspiring rhetoric. It's a practical strategy for turning adversity into advantage. When you develop this mindset, you begin to welcome challenges rather than fear them, because you understand that each challenge makes you more capable. Think about the most successful people you know personally or have studied. Without exception, they've all faced significant challenges and setbacks. But what distinguishes them isn't the absence of obstacles, it's their relationship with obstacles. They've learned to remain calm in the face of adversity, to extract lessons from failures, and to use setbacks as fuel for future success. This requires a fundamental shift in how you define and measure progress. Instead of measuring success only by external achievements, you also measure by internal growth. Every challenge overcome increases your confidence in your ability to handle future challenges. Every failure analyzed and learned from increases your wisdom. Every moment of maintaining composure under pressure strengthens your emotional resilience. The compound effect of this approach is extraordinary. While others become increasingly fragile and risk-averse as they encounter setbacks, you become increasingly anti-fragile. To use Nassim Taleb's term, you actually get stronger from stressors and challenges. This creates a massive competitive advantage because you can take on bigger challenges and handle more uncertainty than most people. Consider the career implications. While others avoid difficult projects, challenging roles, or uncertain situations, you actively seek them out because you understand their accelerated learning opportunities. This willingness to embrace difficulty, combined with the calmness to handle it effectively, naturally leads to rapid advancement and unique opportunities. The key is developing what the Stoics called amor fati, which means love of fate. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop trying to improve your circumstances. It means you embrace whatever situation you find yourself in as the perfect training ground for developing the qualities you need for long-term success. In our hyper-connected world, we're bombarded with information, opinions, and options. Most people become paralyzed by choice or make impulsive decisions to escape the discomfort of uncertainty. Stoic calmness provides a third option: clear, principled decision-making based on wisdom rather than emotion or external pressure. The Stoics developed a framework for decision-making that's remarkably relevant to modern challenges. They taught that good decisions come from understanding your core values, assessing situations rationally, accepting uncertainty gracefully, and taking action based on principles rather than fears or desires. This approach requires developing comfort with uncertainty, which is one of the most valuable skills you can cultivate in our rapidly changing world. While others delay decisions hoping for perfect information or make rushed choices to avoid discomfort, you can move forward with confidence even when information is incomplete. The calmness to sit with uncertainty without rushing into premature action often reveals opportunities that others miss. It allows you to wait for the right opportunity rather than settling for the first available option. It enables you to negotiate from a position of strength because you're not desperate for any particular outcome. At the same time, this comfort with uncertainty prevents analysis paralysis. You understand that no decision is ever made with perfect information, so you focus on making the best decision possible with available information and then adjusting course as new information becomes available. This creates a powerful combination: the patience to wait for the right opportunities and the courage to act decisively when those opportunities appear. Most people struggle with either patience or decisiveness, but rarely develop both qualities simultaneously. The practical application involves developing decision-making rituals that incorporate Stoic principles. Before major decisions, take time for reflection. Consider how this decision aligns with your long-term values and goals. Assess what information you have and what you don't. Then determine whether additional information would significantly improve your decision or whether you're simply avoiding the discomfort of uncertainty. Consider potential outcomes, but don't become paralyzed by trying to predict unpredictable futures. While goal setting has become almost religious in success literature, the Stoics understood something more profound. Sustainable success comes from building systems and developing character rather than achieving specific outcomes. This insight is revolutionary for most people's approach to success. Goals are important for direction, but they're terrible masters. When you become overly attached to specific outcomes, you create internal pressure that actually reduces your effectiveness. You also set yourself up for disappointment because outcomes depend on many factors beyond your control. Systems, on the other hand, are entirely within your control. A system is a process you follow consistently regardless of immediate results. The magic happens when you focus on perfecting your systems rather than obsessing over outcomes. The outcomes then take care of themselves as a natural byproduct of excellent systems. Consider writing. A goal might be to write a best-selling book. A system is writing for 2 hours every morning regardless of how you feel or what else is happening. The person focused on the goal might write frantically when motivated and not at all when inspiration is lacking. The person focused on the system writes consistently, improves steadily, and eventually produces work that achieves a goal as a side effect. This approach requires the kind of calmness that Stoic philosophy develops. You need to be patient enough to trust the process even when immediate results aren't visible. You need to be disciplined enough to maintain your systems even when they're not producing obvious rewards. You need to be wise enough to measure progress by system adherence rather than outcome achievement. The compound effect is remarkable. While others experience the emotional roller coaster of goal pursuit, excitement, frustration, disappointment, renewed hope, you experience the steady satisfaction of consistent improvement. Your energy goes toward perfecting your craft rather than managing emotional turbulence. This doesn't mean you ignore results entirely. You track outcomes to ensure your systems are effective and make adjustments when necessary. But your self-worth and daily satisfaction come from executing your systems excellently rather than from external validation or achievement. Leadership and calmness are inseparable. People naturally follow those who remain composed under pressure, think clearly in chaos, and make decisions based on principle rather than panic. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about emotional mastery in service of others. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this principle. Leading an empire required making decisions that affected millions of people while facing constant threats, political intrigue, and personal challenges. His leadership philosophy, preserved in his meditations, reveals a man who maintained his composure not through indifference but through deep care combined with philosophical perspective. The modern application is equally powerful. When you lead from a place of calm strength, several things happen simultaneously. First, your team feels secure enough to take intelligent risks and suggest innovative solutions. Second, you make better strategic decisions because you're not clouded by emotional reactivity. Third, you attract higher quality people who want to work with leaders who can handle pressure gracefully. This type of leadership also creates psychological safety, which research shows is the most important factor in high-performing teams. When people know their leader won't panic, blame, or make impulsive decisions under pressure, they're more likely to share ideas, admit mistakes, and collaborate effectively. Developing this leadership presence requires consistent practice of Stoic principles. You must learn to see challenges as opportunities to demonstrate calm problem-solving rather than occasions for stress and drama. You must develop a habit of pausing before reacting, especially in emotionally charged situations. You must cultivate genuine care for your team's development rather than just their performance. The most effective leaders I've observed share this quality of calm strength. They're passionate about their mission and deeply care about their people, but they don't allow these strong feelings to override their judgment or create unnecessary drama. They understand that leadership is service, and effective service requires a clear, calm mind. Your ability to influence others has less to do with your words than with your presence. When you communicate from a place of inner calm, people listen differently. Your words carry more weight because they're not clouded by anxiety, desperation, or emotional reactivity. The Stoics understood that true persuasion comes not from manipulation or high-pressure tactics, but from the quiet confidence of someone who has done the inner work to align their thoughts, words, and actions. This alignment creates a natural authority that's difficult to fake and impossible to ignore. Think about the most influential people you've encountered. Chances are they shared this quality of calm presence. They didn't need to raise their voice to be heard or use dramatic gestures to make their point. Their influence came from the quiet power of someone who had mastered themselves. This has immediate practical applications in every area of life. In business negotiations, your calm presence allows you to listen more carefully, ask better questions, and identify creative solutions that benefit everyone. In team meetings, your thoughtful contributions stand out among the noise of reactive comments and emotional responses. In customer interactions, your composed approach builds trust and confidence in your recommendations. The key is developing authentic confidence rather than trying to project confidence you don't feel. Authentic confidence comes from knowing you can handle whatever situation arises, not from believing that everything will go according to your plans. This subtle distinction makes all the difference in how others perceive and respond to you. Now that we've explored the 8 pillars of Stoic success through calmness, the question becomes, How do you integrate these principles into your daily life in a way that creates lasting change rather than temporary inspiration? The answer lies in understanding that these principles work synergistically. Emotional regulation supports better decision-making, which enables strategic thinking, which builds confidence to face adversity, which develops leadership presence, which improves communication effectiveness, and so on. Each pillar strengthens the others when practiced consistently. Start with one principle that resonates most strongly with you. Perhaps it's the focus on what you can control, or the reframe of obstacles as opportunities, or the development of decision-making clarity. Whatever calls to you most strongly, begin there and practice it daily until it becomes second nature. The transformation won't happen overnight, and that's exactly the point. The Stoics understood that lasting change comes through consistent practice over time, rather than dramatic revelations or emotional breakthroughs. They called this process spiritual exercises, though we might call it mental conditioning or character development. Each day presents numerous opportunities to practice these principles. Every challenge is a chance to remain calm under pressure. Every decision is an opportunity to focus on what you can control. Every interaction is a moment to practice clear communication and authentic presence. The compound effect of this daily practice is extraordinary. While others continue to be buffeted by circumstances, emotions, and other people's reactions, you develop an unshakable center of calm strength. This doesn't mean you become rigid or unemotional. It means you develop the flexibility to respond appropriately to any situation because you're no longer controlled by unconscious reactions. As we reach the end of our exploration, you face a choice that will shape not just your next few weeks, but the entire trajectory of your life. You can treat this information as interesting philosophy to admire from a distance, or you can begin the practical work of integrating these principles into your daily experience. The Stoics believed that philosophy without application is worthless. They weren't interested in abstract theorizing, but in practical wisdom that could improve how people lived and worked. The principles we've discussed have been tested not in ivory towers, but in the crucible of real-world challenges by some of history's most successful individuals. The path forward is simple but not easy. Choose one principle to focus on for the next 30 days. Create a daily practice around it. Notice how it affects your thinking, your decisions, and your interactions with others. Pay attention to how developing inner calm begins to create outer success in ways you might not have expected. Remember that calmness is not passivity. It's not about becoming indifferent or detached from your goals and relationships. It's about developing such inner stability that you can engage fully with life's challenges and opportunities without being controlled by fear, anger, or other reactive emotions. The success that emerges from this approach is different from success built on anxiety, aggression, or manipulation. It's more sustainable because it doesn't depend on constantly outworking or outmaneuvering others. It's more satisfying because it's aligned with your deepest values and character. And it's more influential because it's based on authentic strength rather than projected confidence. 2,000 years ago, in the marble halls of ancient Rome, a group of philosophers discovered principles that could transform any life willing to embrace them. Those principles are available to you today, in this moment, through the simple choice to begin practicing them. The question is not whether these principles work. History has proven their effectiveness countless times. The question is whether you'll choose to apply them. Your future self is watching this moment, hoping you'll make the choice that leads to the calm, successful life you're capable of living. The wisdom is here. The tools are available. The only question remaining is, what will you do with them?